wine show featured here in the Scum and Villainy Cantina, owned by J.C. Reifenberg. Tonight, we have on the podcast producer Matt Walker and me. I'm your announcer guy that does things, and I'm Robbie Carlin. Oh my God! But we have the big guy, the dude, the awesome. He's Steven Kramer.
Hey! Great job, Robbie. That was really good. You did great. I mean, you're no Mike Glazer or Mike Black, but you're Robbie Carlisle.
He beat Mike Glazer in an announce-off.
Yeah, you're right.
With Josh Robert Thompson.
Yeah, when we had Josh Robert Thompson on the show, he beat him. He beat his...
I beat
him
off.
His ass. He beat him off.
And we learned about Robbie getting beaten in school. That to him, too.
Yes, we really did. We are at a very exclusive, very amazing place. Now, I first heard about this place, the Scum and Villainy Cantina. I heard about this maybe about a year ago or so. And then I heard it was coming to Los Angeles. And I immediately was like, oh, my God, how do you even go to something
describe
like that?
what it is.
Okay, so I'm describing to you what this is. It is in the photos that I saw, and in reality, it is so much more. It is the cantina set from the Mos Eisley Cantina from Star Wars, from the first Star Wars A New Hope. And I have the cantina toy set from 1986 or 82 or wherever it's from in my cabinet at home with all my Star Wars toys. And I've always been a fan of that scene more than anything else because that's the one where all the aliens are in that scene. That's Greedo. That's Han
it's the
Solo.
one where Greedo shot at Han Solo and then Han Solo returned fire. That's
that is not how it happened, you son of a bitch. But yeah, that is the way that I remember Star Wars. When I think of Star Wars, that's the scene. You know, all the different aliens, all the different creatures, and they're all hanging out at the bar together. And that's where really the magic first kind of unravels for me for that first film, where you start to really feel like, oh, this is another world. There's creatures and robots and monsters and aliens and stuff. And in Force Awakens, it was the first thing that they went for to try to remake was... they try to make like a cantina type set in that film for what's her name? What's the character's name? Do you remember?
Maz Kanata.
Maz Kanata. Right. Which got destroyed. It got knocked down, during it. Which is,
So continue describing where we are.
So anyways, the point is...
Get to the point. Enough of your backstory.
I see that this thing is coming to Los Angeles, and when it first came, it was a little expensive to come to it, and I wanted to go, but I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can afford it, and I don't know.
So I'm going to jump in because people keep saying that. It's $50.
Maybe
it's $50.
I had heard that it was more money.
For $50, you get. We're on Hollywood Boulevard, right? Not far from Hard Rock Cafe and all these tourist destinations.
You're going to spend $50 in 12 minutes at Hard Rock Cafe.
For $50, you get 2 drinks, mixed drinks.
God.
You get a souvenir
alcoholic drinks.
Get
out of here.
You get a souvenir glass and a challenge coin that's like a metal military style challenge coin, which you can use for re-entry for free, or if you're like, I like this thing, you can show it to our bouncer, and anytime we have walk-in availability, we're not sold out, it's $10 cash to get back in.
Oh my God.
So if you price us out, we're actually cheaper than going to Hard Rock Cafe, and we're a one-off versus Hard Rock Cafe, which is like a multinational corporation. So you get a lot of bang for that $50.
Absolutely. That's a great deal.
And you got blue milk.
I think that it's good for you to clear that up to people because, people that like me that are like huge Star Wars fans, they want to be able to walk into a Star Wars set and walk into like that world. And when you come here, you have these amazing people. You have cosplayers and you have guys. And there was a Hammerhead the other night standing at the bar. There's characters from Rogue One and from Last Jedi and from Force Awakens, Empire Strikes Back. They're all just hanging out. Like, it's amazing. It's so cool.
So we're not a licensed bar. We're not actually a Star Wars bar.
Sure.
And what I did is, I grew up on those movies, but I also loved all the other sci-fi movies, a lot like, Ahmed Best, who was on earlier, talking about, I loved all of it.
Yeah.
So it's taking something that we've all seen a million times, drawing inspiration from it and creating something that when you walk into feels familiar. It feels like home.
Absolutely.
But doesn't step on the toes of Lucasfilm or Disney or Paramount or whoever owns Battlestar Galactica now, Sci-Fi Channel, whatever it is.
Of course, yeah.
And a big part of that is appealing to the people who love that stuff. It much in the way of like, this is like the Cheers for sci-fi fans.
Of course.
You know, and obviously it's, you know, Star Wars, at least in my opinion, is the biggest, you know, sci-fi saga. You know, people, there are more Star Wars fans than probably like Stargate and Firefly and everything combined times 10.
Right.
So we get a lot of those cosplayers in here, like you said, Hammerhead and Greedo and Ponda Baba.
But I noticed, too, you have people from other sci-fi worlds showing up and hanging out in the cantina.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some Star
Trek
like
people.
me.
Absolutely.
There's some, you know, some people get caught in Borg temporal vortexes and they show up with in their Starfleet uniforms. And that's some of the most fun for me because, look, I've been to every Star Wars celebration. I've been to Comic-Con. I've seen big groups of stormtroopers. I've seen big groups of Twilight Dancing Girls, Slave Leias. I've seen all that stuff. But the thing that I don't get to see very often is, you know, Jane and Kaylee from Firefly having a drink with Captain Kirk and Han Solo. To me, that's where this place really shines. You know, you can get some cool Instagram photos when you're dressed like, you know, a Twilight here. But what's the most fun for me is when I get to watch, you know, the genres and the different properties mix and mingle, because that's stuff that you don't get to see at a Star Wars celebration. That's stuff that you don't get to see at a lot of these different places. And, you know, this bar doesn't have any television sets. We don't have memorabilia on the walls because, to me, this is, like you mentioned before, this is a play set. And it is the opportunity for all of us to be action figures. And when I was a kid, I didn't just play with Star Wars action figures. I would mix my Star Wars with my Thundercats, and Lion-O and Luke Skywalker and Prince Adam from He-Man would all team up to try to you know, beat Cobra Commander and Mumra and Shredder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I wasn't so exclusive with just like, you know, these guys don't play nice with these guys. I wanted the big battle. I mean, I still want to watch that movie, right? How cool would that be?
Hell yeah, absolutely.
So I used to
write short stories as a kid where I'd hang out with Luke Skywalker and get to fly around the X-Wing, but then the Ninja Turtles would come and help, and you know, it was a part of that. You know, creative writing at the time is taking creative characters and mixing them all together.
Did you guys ever see Battle for the Cartoon All-Stars? That was like that anti-drug cartoon that came out. God, it was probably like 86 or 87. It was like the Smurfs and Michelangelo and Alf and Garfield, and like they all teamed up to get this guy off of drugs.
That's like the cartoon version of like the West Coast Rap All-Stars doing We're All on the Same Gang.
What? Really?
Where Eazy-E and MC Hammer and the Humpty Dance, Digital Underground, and all those guys, Young
God.
MC, were all in one song together. It's like the cartoon version of that.
Wow, it really was.
And the thing is, like, drugs inspired most of those cartoon characters, I'm pretty sure.
Probably. Absolutely, yeah.
So it was ironic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, this place here, have you done this other places before Los Angeles? Was it somewhere else and it moved here, or how did this
No, I'm actually a filmmaker. And so the genesis of the idea was...
And by filmmaker, I mean you're a real filmmaker. You produced a lot of movies for Kevin Smith and for a bunch of other wonderful people.
Yeah, so I work a lot with Kevin Smith. I was a producer on his last movie, Yoga Hosers. I worked on Tusk. I've done some of Kevin's TV specials. And I do his Fat Man on Batman podcast, if you guys watch that on YouTube. And so that's like the world I come from. But obviously, just like everybody here, I grew up on, you know, movies and things like that. And this is just a place I always wanted to hang out. And a few years ago, I started dating a girl who designs bars and restaurants for a living. I brought her back to my mom's house where I grew up, and I'm surrounded by all of the things I grew up with. and the tumblers and the locks started to click into place, and I was like, you know what we could do? We could build a sci-fi bar inspired by the cantina, and she was like, get out of here. And I was like, no, I think we could. So we reached out to some of the bar and restaurant people that she has designed lots of stuff for in Los Angeles, and they were like, yeah, let's try it. And so here we are.
Oh my God.
You know what I'd love to see now that I'm thinking about it?
Yeah.
I want to see that bar rescue guy come in here when there's a bunch of cosplayers in here and have him yell at like a bunch of aliens and stuff and watch that interaction.
Pull your act together!
There's a YouTube video for you right there.
That guy having a fucking meltdown. Hammerhead, get your shit off the ground, Hammerhead!
Yeah. So
That guy's the worst.
When you found this location, you're like, I'm going to put it in here. Like,
Oh,
you had
no,
this
wait.
idea?
Tell Matt the story about the other place that you had seen.
Oh, so the reason that my girlfriend and I were back in Chicago to begin with is they opened a Saved by the Bell pop-up in Chicago.
I remember seeing that last year on TV. Justin Turner from the Dodgers went there, and they have this show called Backstage Dodgers, and they follow the players around while they're on the road. And he went there with his girlfriend, and they had like the guy who does magic on.
Oh yeah, Max.
Magic Max was around, and he's there doing table magic and all this stuff.
Yeah. So my girlfriend loves Saved by the Bell the way that I love Star Wars, and so we actually flew to Chicago to go to this diner, and it was cool, but it from the one angle that they ever shot the diner from the show in, it looks just like the diner.
Yeah.
And so we went in and we had a brunch and we took some photos and we went home and we were like, well, I bet we could do something like that.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like a rule of cosplayers? Like, if you're like 300 pounds, do you get to be Slave Leia? Like, do you guys have...
Is there a Slave Leia costume that Robbie can wear?
That's the question.
There is, if you go on our Instagram or Facebook, one of the first Slave Leias that we actually had in here
Was morbidly obese?
was a dude who was so hairy and so awesome. I saw him when I pulled up for the evening. I parked my car, and it was one of those real windy days. The Santa Anas were blowing, and this guy went for it. Like, no underwear, just walking down Hollywood Boulevard, flapping in the breeze, and so yes, you could come in
Find
here
one.
as we are an equal opportunity, Slave Leia encouraged.
I once saw one of the funniest cosplays I've ever seen in my life was a 350-pound man dressed up as Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
And he was wearing a jetpack, and everything in me was like, that jetpack ain't getting you. Like, it just killed me. It was so fucking great. I mean, like, as a big guy, I'm always trying to figure out what's a good cosplay move for big fellas. Did you ever see... Stop it, you bastard. Did you ever see any big guys come in dressed as anything cool? Because I saw, the last time I was here, I saw a guy dressed up as like a big droid, looking like half robot, half man, with lights all over him.
Oh,
and stuff.
yeah.
He was so fucking awesome.
He was kind of
looking.
like Buzz Lightyear-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really neat. Like sci-fi, like a sci-fi version of Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I mean, at Star Wars Celebration, I've seen Gamorrean guards, which are always
That's
good.
the best.
Or the Rancor Keeper is always a favorite one.
Sure.
But
you have to be crying the whole time. Though.
You
yeah,
could,
you're very
Steven,
sad.
just come as BB-8.
I could.
Just same shit.
Yeah, just
Just
roll
roll around.
myself up and
So when you decide you're going to build this, you find the location here in Hollywood. How long did it take you from like being like, hey, we're going to rent this venue and we're going to start building stuff until you were able to have people in?
So we took over the venue February 1st. We closed February 15th, started building, and then opened back up, I think, for the first night was like April 4th. So it was like an 8-week build out. But we literally we built everything.
You did this all
Like,
yourself?
there
or
was-
hire a crew? How'd you do this?
Yeah, it was all me with Scotch tape and wood glue. No, we hired a contractor and
Did you draw up like kind of what you wanted it to look like, or how?
So my girlfriend and I sat down, and the challenge is like, how do you take things that you've seen in a movie set, which are not functional, right?
Yeah, and how do you make them fit the fire code?
And how do you make them fit the fire code, and how do you make it feel, like I said, feel familiar, but be different enough that you're not, stealing something.
Yes.
Or and the nice part about that is nothing on a movie set is functional. I've been on many movie sets. Like the tables in the Star Wars Cantina are round cocktail tables.
Yeah.
Do you know how annoying it is to reach
Awful.
all the way, like at arm's reach, to grab your drink? Like, it's not fun. All of us right now have our elbows on the table.
Right.
You can't do that in the Star Wars Cantina.
Yeah.
There's just, it's not a practical spot unless the people who are running that establishment on Tatooine charge $80 per drink, or I don't know what they're doing to make money, because it's not there's only seating for like 30 people in that bar.
I don't know what kind of currency they use then.
Yeah. Maybe rent's really cheap. Maybe they're grandfathered into a good lease. But
Well, you know what? The thing that I don't mean to interrupt, but the thing that I really liked about coming here for that night that we came here is that there's something about, even though it's not a private club, it does kind of feel like a private club in some ways, right? Would you kind of describe it in some ways?
yeah, I mean, the only people who are here or who have been here so far have bought tickets months in advance.
Sure.
And they're all coming here for the same reason. So it is like, if your grandparents were members of the Caddyshack Country Club
Or the Friars Club.
Yeah, you know everybody who's there, and if you don't know them, you know somebody who knows them,
Right.
or you're all going to that country club because you're all there for the same reason. So it's very easy to strike up
And
a
you got
conversation.
shared
here.
interests with
Shared
everyone there,
interests.
obviously. Yeah.
And because we don't have any television sets, there's nothing here to disengage you from being in the room. And one of the coolest things for me is I'm here almost every night, and you don't see people playing Bejeweled on their phone here very often.
Yeah.
Everybody here, you're here for 2 hours, you're engaged with the people around you and with the bartenders and with what is happening in this
But
space.
do people play Star Trek Timelines on their phone while they're here?
Here's the thing is I brought Rachel with me, my girlfriend, and my girlfriend fucking hates bars. Like, she is, we've been together 5 years. She's been with me to like 3 bars, and you know this. Like, she does not like going out. She does not like going and unless it's like for a big fancy event. She does not like doing stuff like that. And I was like, just because she's got enough stuff going on in her life, and I was like, look, we have to go to this thing. It's super cool. It's Star Wars. It's the Scum and Villainy Cantina. We're gonna sit there. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna watch people. And she was like, all right, I'm gonna come for 10 minutes. And she came and sat with me for 3 hours, and we just people watched for 3 hours, sitting right there at the bar behind us. And the entire time it was like, she'd be like, what character is that guy from? What's that one from? And she wore like a outer space style, like cute little outfit. And I painted my face like a neon color. So every time the black light hit my face, I like lit up really, really hot. And I wore a black leather jacket that had lights built into it. But like, we had the best time. It was such an exciting time. And even though I wasn't like dressed as an actual character from a thing, I felt like I was still totally fit into it because I was in a costume.
Look, as adults, right? There's so very few times per year where you can kind of let go and make believe and play pretend and not get ridiculed for it.
Halloween, Comic-Con, and that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And so this is a place where creative people can go and they have an outlet, and it's like a safe spot for them to go. You go down to Hard Rock and you've got green face paint on.
Yeah.
Even on Hollywood Boulevard, people are going to look at you weird and be like, don't you belong like taking photos outside Grauman's or TLC or whatever it's called now. But here you are part of the attraction. People want to take photos with you. You show up in even in a mediocre costume, and people pay attention to you, and people want to know your story, and people want to know how you made that costume or where you came up with it or where'd you get that belt or where'd you get that? Even if you're just dressed in a dress, where'd you buy that dress? It's so cute.
Yeah.
You know, it's
like, or people like, I mean, at Comic-Con, they spend all year building these cosplay costumes, and then they have to wear them to a Comic-Con in the middle of the summer
And that's
in
all
the
they get.
heat.
Right.
And that's it. And or you can come here, hang out. You get 2 drinks. You have some nice drinks. You Uber on down, and then if you bring someone with you, they get to experience something they've never seen before, or that they grew up seeing, but they've never gotten to see in real life, which is fucking awesome.
Hey, so Matt, as always, I brought a bottle of Fireball whiskey to the show because
a good time.
Fireball is the best. It's the best.
Makes every show better.
It makes everything better, man. It makes dates better. It makes dancing better. It makes podcasts better. It makes shows better. It makes stand-up better. It makes dealing with your family better. It makes crying better. It's so much better. I love it. I'm going to drink some right now. And you know what? If I hold the bottle up, you can actually hear the Fireball whiskey
You
talking.
can't hear it talk.
Yes, you can. I'll take the lid off. Hang
right.
on. Okay, now I'm going to hold it up. You can hear.
Steven!
Oh, that's
Steven!
the Fireball.
Wow.
That's in the
I
bottle.
want to be inside you.
Oh, all right.
Steven!
Hey, Fireball. How are you?
I'm so horny, Steven.
I'm sure you are. All right, now
I
let's.
want to do it with your stomach.
Well, get on in there. I'm going to drink you down,
right.
baby. Here we go.
Yeah, swallow it. Yeah.
Get in there. Ooh,
yeah.
how's it feel in my stomach?
Feels so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so good.
Hey, who's making all that racket?
Oh God, there's another man in here. Steven, you whore.
How much stuff do you have in your stomach?
Who's in my stomach? Who is that?
He looks so handsome.
Oh, that's Gary.
Yeah,
Gary.
don't you remember?
Gary asked if he could.
I slid down an onion ring last week, bro.
Yeah, he needed a place to stay.
Yeah.
I'm Airbnb-ing my
Your stomach,
right now.
Definitely, yeah.
So Gary, how is it in there with
It's good, bro. I'm not ready to blow out anytime soon, man.
That's cool, man.
I'm gonna hang out in here for a while.
I hope you don't mind hanging out with Fireball whiskey.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's gonna be great. We're gonna party together.
We're gonna give him ulcers together, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hey,
Kidney stone.
Gary. Let's do it.
let's-
Sloppy seconds. I'll
Let's
be
get
inside
revenge
you.
for him eating us, even though we want him to.
Yes.
Yes.
Just kind of rolling inside. Oh,
I think you should go see a doctor, Steven.
I probably should. Guys, Fireball whiskey, it makes everything better. All right, let's get back to the show.
Real quick, Shawn is here. Robbie, I'm going to ask you to switch out with Shawn if you don't mind.
He's even got the voice, by the way.
I know, he's so
It's like
rad.
he's like that's a
Shawn,
name I
come
haven't
around
heard
this
in a
side,
long
would
time.
you? Come around this side, around here. My God, look at you. You look so awesome. How are you, buddy? Amazing, amazing. Come grab a seat. Come grab a seat.
I'll echo something. I've known Shawn for a long time, and I'll echo something that he said to me a long time ago in like 2011 when
How far away was he? Long ago.
he
but how far?
Shawn helped me out with a fan film I did called Hughes the Force Once Upon a Time, and he said something to me that's always stuck with me, and I talk about it a lot here at the bar in that we all can. I play Star Wars trivia with people here a lot for drinks and something that always stuck with me is I can get teased for knowing everything about Star Wars or everything about, sci-fi and all this stuff, all these facts and figures. And I dress up like, outer space aliens and things. And I get teased for it. I mean, we're kind of coming out of that, but that's the world that a lot of us grew up in. And something that Shawn said is that knowing all the stats about Star Wars and knowing all of and getting dressed up in a costume is no different than like an Oakland Raiders fan who gets dressed up in a costume and
Which I
puts
do.
on eye black and knows every stat that Tim Brown ever had or every, what Rich Gannon's quarterback rating was in 2002 when they went to the Super Bowl and can throw those facts and figures out. And they have a place to go every Sunday. They can go to Big Wang's. They can go to 33 Taps. They can go someplace every Sunday. And when they walk in their Raiders shoulder pads, they see the people at these bars. And
they
they're
know.
like, those are my people.
Yeah.
And if the Raiders are playing the Denver Broncos, they know the people that are the rivalry. And we don't have that as geeks. And this is a bar where you can walk
You have
into
that feeling.
dressed as Captain Kirk, and immediately you can go and you know who your rivals are, or you know
Yeah.
who your friends are. You can come in here dressed as Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly, and immediately you can go and find your smuggling buddy Han Solo.
Yeah.
Or you'd be like, oh gosh, we got to stay away from the bounty hunters.
It's interesting you brought up the Raiders thing, because that was the only thing I was thinking of when we talked about what adults get that chance to escape. And I was like, because I'm a big Raider fan, I go to Raider games, I'll go up there and I'll do the whole face painting deal when I'm up there. And it's like a thing you get to escape in. And that's one of the few outlets you have. But that's for like, if you like this particular football team, then we tend to do that. But otherwise, you kind of don't have that thing. So for nerds, this is the kind of place you want to go. Because the only other thing that I can remember anything at all like this closed, 10 years ago in Vegas, they had Quark's Bar, which I loved at the Las Vegas Hilton because I'm a big Star Trek nerd. And like you go through the attraction and you sit there and there's Ferengi and all kinds of cool stuff sitting around. And this is that same feel, which I haven't been in a venue that has had this feel in over a decade.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oop, I just knocked my mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's, sports bars got really popular in 1979. That's like when they kind of started taking off, and that's also not too long after, the NFL merger and MLB and sports became really big business, and athletes' salaries just skyrocketed right about that time. Well, we're living in a world where right down the street, they shut down Hollywood Boulevard outside the Pantages and are building this giant Wonder Woman thing.
Yeah.
Right now as we do this. And 6 months ago, they had a giant X-Wing fighter, and they shut down Hollywood Boulevard. And Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is on its way past $1 billion worldwide. We live in a world where geekdom
It's big business.
is big business the same way that sports is big business. And the cosplay is bigger than ever. We've got cosplay shows on Sci-Fi Channel now, but we don't have a place to go and play. And I'm hoping that this is a place that can stick around a little while, because this is a place we can go and play. And like across the street, Beetle House just opened like 2 nights ago, literally across the street from here.
That's a Beetlejuice themed.
It is an unlicensed Tim Burton themed bar, and it's a place where people can get dressed up and go and meet people like them and go and play. And I think that's important. I think it's for people who don't love sports, it gives them an outlet to go and be creative and show off what they know.
Well, and if I can jump in for a second, Shawn Crosby here. The thing that's really interesting about the Scum and Villainy bar is that we need to sort of find our tribe in a social way. And that's what this does, is it lets us come be social as opposed to being at a convention where everyone's got an agenda. Going to San Diego Comic-Con, you've got an agenda. I'm in the 501st and Rebel Legion, and when we go to events and do charity things, we have an agenda. This is just a place to hang out. This is the place where you come and you do meet your old friends, you meet new friends, you have something in common with everybody here. And because of that, it's a really festive and social environment that is unlike any of the other places we normally go in costume. And it's kind of an important thing to be able to do that, to just come here, have a drink, detox, take some pictures with, people you might not normally do. It's fun to kind of walk up to Mal Reynolds dressed as Obi-Wan Kenobi and ask him for a charter, It's cool that you can do that. Or go make fun of somebody dressed as Captain Kirk because this isn't his universe. But, everyone kind of likes shore leave anyway. So, you want to go have fun with these guys. And for me, the evening I got to spend here was really terrific in the sense that it was very, very social with no expectations on my time. And that's really rare as someone who does a lot of cosplay, someone who does a lot of charity work and who plays a lot of characters. It's weird to be in a place where I don't have any responsibility. And that's my favorite part about this place.
Now, you are a member of 501st and Rebel Legion, as you mentioned, which are two groups that are known for having some of the most authentic looking costumes that anybody has for the Star Wars universe.
And for
Yes,
doing some
yeah.
incredible charity
And
work.
great
as
charity
well.
work, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys go do tons of events.
Well, that's our excuse to wear the
Yeah.
nice
You
costumes
get to wear 'em, yeah.
because otherwise we're creepy guys hanging out at the mall in Star Wars costumes, and nobody wants
This
that.
way, you're like, we're creepy guys, but we're getting some money to give to
Right,
sick
right,
children. Yeah. So,
You want to ignore us. You don't want to.
so now, like, say this costume. Now you're dressed as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, no. This is Luke Skywalker.
Throw the fake
Episode
hand
7
again,
Luke
that's the hand.
Skywalker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't bust this one out very often.
this here, did you make this all yourself, or do you? How did this costume come about?
So what? And I've been costuming since 1977. Star Wars. I was 10 when the movie came out. My very first costume was a Jawa. And I was the only guy running around in a Star Wars costume. I was like, "What are you?" So it's kind of been in my blood ever since then. But in this case, for the 501st and the Rebel Legion, we have certain costuming guidelines that we try to adhere to, and we make sure that our costumes are sort of movie quality, if we can, and they withstand sort of up close scrutiny.
Yeah.
Because the toughest judge of character are kids, and if you walk in, like I play Obi-Wan Kenobi most of the time, and so the moment I walk in, I have to look good, and I have to sound good, and I have to embody that character. So if I walk in and go, "Yo, sup, Obi-Wan Kenobi, man, how's it going?"
Yeah.
The kids will go, "Yeah, that's not it." But the minute I walk in and go, "Hello there, Obi-Wan Kenobi," and we do the whole thing with personality, they buy into it. And with the 501st and the Rebel Legion, we're very fortunate in that they being Disney, allow us to use their intellectual property without repercussion
Sure.
and without having to pay for it, as long as we're doing good things for the community. And as long as we maintain that, and I've done up to 160 events like this, which means I wear these costumes out a
All the
lot.
time.
And so in the construction of them, my wife does the soft goods. She does all the clothing part of it because she sews. And then I do the hardware part of it. I make the lightsabers and the fake robotic gloves.
What's your favorite piece that you've made?
That I've made?
Yeah.
Definitely my car.
Oh, your car is so cool. We're gonna take our live stream stuff outside and get some footage of the car.
Yeah.
But just explain it to our fans so they have an idea.
For almost 20 years, I've been taking regular store-bought, off-the-lot cars and modifying them into Star Wars vehicles. And we have a subgroup that's called Road Squadron, because as time went on, we started picking up people who wanted to do the same thing. And so I started in like 98 with a Honda Del Sol, which I turned into an A-Wing starfighter from Return of the Jedi. And it had all of the same kind of paint markings on it. I put guns on the side, and then it got more and more elaborate. And we started calling it the H-Wing because it was a Honda. And I thought, well, since it's an H-Wing, let's put R2 on the back.
Yes!
And it got even bigger than that.
So now, what's the challenge with that in terms of like you're taking a car, you're modifying it, but you still need to keep it so that it's road legal? Like, how do you avoid stepping over those things? Like with here, you have to figure out how do I make a cantina fit the fire code? How do you make a car that you turn into an A-Wing and still have it so you can drive it on the road without getting pulled over every minute and them dinging you for all kinds of stuff?
Well, because it's my daily driver car, and I've got two of them right now. I have that Honda, and I have a 350Z, which is the one that's parked outside. When I build these things, I create the design in Photoshop. I figure out what I'm going to put on them, and then I talk to the California Highway Patrol, and I talk to the Los Angeles Police Department, and I run my ideas past them, and I said, what's going to get me dinged? And that doesn't mean that I won't hit that 1 in 100 police officer who tells me, okay, I'm giving you a fix-it ticket for X thing. And then I go to the CHP, and they inspect the car, and like, really? He gave you a ticket for that? That's cool. You're fine. But, they sign it off, and I pay my $10, and that's done. But, it's the biggest problem about having a Star Wars car is that you attract a lot of attention. So if you want to keep a low profile with law enforcement, that's not a way to do it. If you want to maintain your privacy, that's not a way to do it.
Well, I mean, also all the TIE fighter cars out there, you're constantly like getting in road rage battles, trying to shoot them out of the sky.
That's why the new one has 6 guns on it. So,
Yes.
although the proton torpedoes happened, And also, I was very tempted, instead of the R2 unit, I kind of wanted to put a harpoon cannon on the back. That was passenger controlled. I thought that would be fun.
Hey, is there something that you've wanted to build that you haven't gotten to yet?
I would like to build a 1-to-1 scale starship that we can take to events for the Rebel Legion. I'd like to do an A-Wing, or I'd like to do maybe a Jedi Starfighter or something like that.
Yeah.
All of the projects that we do certainly take a lot of time and a lot of money to do, and the expertise of people that aren't me. So I have my own areas of expertise, but I like to drag other people in, going, okay, you're an electronics guy, you're a robotics guy, let's do that. So it's got to be a communal thing. But some of the issues, there's always a project. And so like for example, you guys have seen the movie Fanboys.
Of course.
Right. Yeah. So Ernie Klein wrote it, Adam F. Goldberg was behind it, Kyle Newman directed it.
Sure.
I got to work on the set when they did some reshoots, so I contributed a lot of stuff to George Lucas's office when they did the reshoots in George Lucas's office.
Yeah.
So that Millennium Falcon they hold over their head is a Kenner toy painted to match the ILM model. Because then we could trash it, right? It wasn't a problem.
Sure.
So because of my connection with that, and I love the movie so much, I've been hunting for the Fanboy vans, and I found them.
What? Really?
The stunt van and the hero van. And, of course, they've been sitting in a lot for, since 2009, I guess was the last time they used them. And they thought, these will be a great rental. Nobody's rented them for anything. They haven't turned up in anything. The paint has faded to black and white, which it did even before they finished the movie. And so I'm trying to talk them into selling those to me so we can restore them and take them to conventions.
Oh, that would be so
which
cool.
Which would be great, right?
That'd be
so
amazing.
you show up with an actual, because the joke in my car group, which is all movie cars, there's the Road Squadron, then there's a group called Star Car Central, and those are all movie cars. So we have the Batmobile and the DeLorean and Herbie the Love Bug and Knight Rider and all of that kind of thing, including a guy who's got like a $500,000 Aston Martin from James Bond.
Oh, wow.
That he does all the modifications to, and then
Does it do the oil slick? and all that
takes
stuff,
off
or-
after the event. No, he puts them all on for the event. He does the event, then he takes them all off and he drives home.
Oh,
He's crazy. So I'm in this group, and they want. I'm the guy with a car from a movie that doesn't have any cars in it.
yeah.
There's no cars in Star Wars. I mean, you can have a land speeder, I guess, but it's not road legal.
Yeah.
And most of them are built around golf carts, so they're not very fast.
Right,
So, driving on the freeway to get to an event is
Can't
not,
do it.
not
Yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So in this case, having the Fanboys van would be incredible.
It's,
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Dan Fogler was in here last week, hanging out. Hutch was in here hanging
Nice.
out.
You know what?
Very
last
cool.
week.
He's been doing a lot of work on the Goldbergs.
Yeah.
And I actually reconnected with him on the Knight Rider episode. And,
yeah.
And Adam Goldberg is such a cool guy. He put me next to Dan. And so Dan's like, okay, I know you from Fanboys. You shot with us on Fanboys. I'm like, yeah. So during the scene where we're watching a parade and we're getting excited over Knight Rider driving by, Dan reaches over and he grabs me and he's like hitting me and shoving me around and throwing me on the ground and giving me noogies and all this kind of stuff. And I kind of went, Dan, I wasn't expecting that. He's like, no, it's okay. I know you. I figured it was all right.
Great.
So he must have had a blast here.
Yeah, he hung out in the corner booth, and the people who, when Hutch, who lives in a carriage house, not his mom's garage,
right?
comes in, they have a good time. But what's also fun is there were that night there were a couple guys from Texas. They flew in from Texas to come here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And on their way out, they were like, "You have a fanboy in here." I was like, "I have a bar full of fanboys in here."
Yeah,
I was like,
right.
"No, Hutch is here."
Fanboy
Oh,
with
I
a
love
capital
it.
F.
And so it's just fun. It's like and nobody. I mean, with Dan Fogler here, he is treated the same way as when a good cosplayer comes in. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody. It's very equalizing. Like everybody here is kind of really cool and on equal footing. And we've been open for 2 months and we have not had one bar fight.
Nice.
Not one altercation.
we
not
can
one.
fix that for you. We really want.
Sounds like a challenge.
Yeah.
I got
Get
a
a couple
lightsaber in the
stormtroopers.
car.
I mean,
in
except
here.
for the one Rhodian who got shot in the
Well,
corner.
Oh,
and
but
we had
yeah,
to drag
screw
it.
that
But
guy.
outside of
That
that,
explains the scorch mark on the floor.
Hey, what about you, JC? What is something that you would like to add to the bar, or that you'd like to build at some point that you haven't already?
so we have a patio out front, and one of the things I want to do is finish the patio like a junkyard, and we have the windows that are kind of in the booths that look out to a setting sun or suns, and I want to cut windows into the partition in the front of the building and put a TV behind it and bring in, like, you were telling me that you had done that great kind of like space.
Like, for Loot Crate.
For Loot Crate,
we've done a big thing.
I want to bring all those guys in and fill the bar with aliens and shoot a bunch of stuff. So when you're walking down Hollywood Boulevard and you look through the windows, the fake windows into the bar, you actually look into the bar and you see all these aliens in here.
That's cool.
And so
like
that's
a forced perspective video screen.
Yeah, so that's something
amazing.
I want to do, and just literally every week I'm here and I'm like, oh, I could tweak this. We're gonna put like little door panel LED switches by all the doors, so it looks like you could shoot the door and lock, shoot the panel and lock the door.
Love that. I love it.
And just little things like, the more I'm here, I'm like, oh, we could do this, and we could do this for a couple bucks. So, I'm a fan and I love it, and I want, when I walk in here, like, to be completely immersed. So short of we can't cover the exit signs, but anything I can do to take you off of Earth and put you in another planet for the time that you're here, I want to do.
Is it against the law to change the font of the exit sign?
You couldn't change it to Orabesh. You couldn't.
That's what I was going to
that
ask. I was like, can we put it?
It's got to remain legible. But you can fiddle with it. So
like build something around it.
Yeah. It's such a cool location, and if you're in Los Angeles, or make the trip out to Los Angeles to
It's
come
worth
to
the
this,
trip.
is 100% worthwhile to come check out.
And it's only $50. It gets you 2 drinks. You get your shirt. You get your collector
No shirt.
coin. No, not a
Shirts.
shirt. You get
a coin,
a
challenge coin, a souvenir glass, and 2 drinks. So
and 2 drinks, and you can buy shirts here for.
You can buy
you
shirts
have to
here.
wear a shirt. They won't let you in without a shirt.
Well, depends on what
we'll
you're
see.
cosplaying as.
Exactly. I love it. Where can what's the website for people to go to buy tickets?
ScumandVillainy.Cantina.com is easy. If you want to go straight to the ticket site, ScumandVillainy.Cantina.Eventbrite.com.
Yeah.
And can I point something out?
Please.
You have another weird fanboys connection that you may or may not be aware of, which is 2 blocks south of here. Danny Trejo has his cantina, almost exactly in line with
Trejo's
this
Tacos.
cantina, and he, of course, was the chief in that.
Yeah.
Among all the other awesome things that he's done. So
I love Danny Trejo.
we could leave here and walk down and get tacos from Machete.
I mean, I did my other fanboys connection is I did a short little documentary with Kyle Newman called Return of the Jedi that screened at the Egyptian Theater a few years back.
I remember that. The 30th anniversary
For the
of Return of
30th
the Jedi.
anniversary of Return of the Jedi, and we interviewed a lot of people like Dan Fogler, Topher Grace, Seth Green, all sorts of people reflecting on Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy, reflecting on Return of the Jedi after 30 years. And it was amazing to find out everybody says Empire is their favorite movie. When you're in public, it's Empire Strikes Back. But when you really start talking to people, they really, Return of the Jedi, Slave Leia,
there was a lot of
Jabba the
iconic
Hutt.
stuff in
Yeah.
there that really stayed with people. And actually, I was having this discussion with a theory about how Lucas makes his movies for people, where a lot of people give the prequel movies a lot of crud.
Yeah.
But if you look at the movies, they are made to be viewed by people who are the age of the protagonist. So episode 1 is made for 9-year-olds, so we get Jar Jar and fart jokes. Right. Episode 2 is made for teenagers. We get the bad Twilight romance. Episode 3 is a lot darker. That's made for adults. People are dying and burning.
Having their bodies chopped
it's really
into
terrible.
pieces, yeah.
So Star Wars is the same way. And by the time we get to Return of the Jedi, if you take out the little bears and the Muppets, Jedi's kind of a dark movie. It's really, really dark. And so, I think a lot of people resonated with that quite a bit.
I'll echo that. The last George Lucas Star Wars we got was Star Wars The Clone Wars. And if you watch season 1 of the Clone Wars, it's hey Sky Guy, blah, and you're like eye roll because I started watching that. I was 30 something years old. But by the last season of Clone Wars, you had Anakin Skywalker pummeling his wife's ex-boyfriend and like doing crazy stuff. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is a kid's show. But kids who started watching that show when they were 11 years old, 7 years later when they wrapped that show up, were 18, and all of a sudden they're dealing with these issues of like, oh my gosh, my best friend dated this girl, and now I'm dating, but she still talks to my best friend. What should I do? Well, don't do what Anakin Skywalker did.
Don't pull out a lightsaber and start.
So there's lessons. I mean, you're absolutely right. They really did.
Yeah, those movies, you grow with those movies. You know, I mean, you know, that first Star Wars: A New Hope, like you go into that having no idea what you're getting into. You know, and as those movies grow, they get more mature and you get more mature.
Right.
And I know that a lot of people, you know, had issue with Phantom Menace and with Clone Wars and stuff like that. But like kids that grew up watching those films don't know.
It's the Goonies thing. It's like we had our time,
right?
And the prequels were their time, and it's not that we didn't enjoy those movies or bits.
How do you feel about the films now, about Force Awakens and Rogue One and Last Jedi?
All right, so I really enjoyed Episode 7, and obviously I'm dressed like Episode 7 Luke, so it resonated with me.
I just rewatched it.
Did you?
Like,
okay.
I just rewatched it like within the last couple of days.
And I've been fortunate enough, because we're here in Hollywood, I've been fortunate enough to attend the premieres for Episode 7 and for Rogue One. And so my wife and I left the Chinese theater on opening night, and she was in tears, and she couldn't complete a sentence. Now, my wife, for whom I've been married like 27 years, she likes Star Wars just okay. It's just all right. It was a thing that was part of her childhood, but she's not like, oh, yeah, Star Wars, whatever. So when she walked out of The Force Awakens with tears coming down her face and the inability to articulate, it wasn't because she was moved by the events of the movie.
Sure.
It was because she finally had a Star Wars that resonated with her.
Right.
And if she had had that movie when she was 10, she would have been exactly like me. And Rogue One did the same thing for me, because it tied so well into Episode 4 that I walked out of there and I couldn't complete a sentence. I'd start to talk and my voice would break. I was talking to John Knoll afterwards, and we were talking the finer points of special effects and things. He's like, but what did you think of the story? And I said, you know, for lack of a better description, it kicked me right in the childhood. It hit me exactly where I was when I was 10 years old at the Chinese theater watching Star Wars.
I'll echo that exact same sentiment where I saw Force Awakens with a giant group of people, some people who had been in the movie and worked on the movie, and it was cool to see some of that stuff, but it broke the fourth wall a lot for me. There was a lot of, hey, remember this? And for me, I'm 36 years old. I never forgot it. So much like this bar, when I see a Star Wars movie, I want to get transported somewhere else. And the
Total
problem
immersion.
I had with Force Awakens was every 7 or 8 minutes, I had a sign held up that said pop culture. Trash compactors and probe, training remotes and dejarik boards and things like that. And I know for a lot of people, they loved that because they felt like, oh, this is my Star Wars. But for me, it pulled me out of that. Rogue One, though,
which did the same thing, to be fair.
Only once, though, with the Ponda Baba reference.
That really
Every
pulled you
other reference, to me, informed character. So you had a dejarik board in Rogue One, but it was made out of rocks. And to me, that was like, oh my gosh, these rebels are so poor that the smuggler can afford a dejarik board, but they can't even afford to pay the electricity on the hologram. And, Red 5 died.
Right.
Well,
Opening
Red
up
5
that
is Luke.
slot for Luke. Yeah.
Open up the slot for Luke. And Blue Squadron is on Scarif when it gets hit. And so that's why Blue Squadron isn't attacking. So as a fan, the fan service that was paid to me connected the dots rather than held up a big sign that said, we know Star Wars 2. It was kind of like, we're with you. And I stood up at the end, and I liked the prequels, but I stood up at the end of Rogue One. I said, this was the Star Wars movie that when I was a little boy, wanted to see.
Wow.
Because it was that to me was my Star Wars.
You know what though, real quick, when I saw I know we have to wrap things up, but when I saw Force Awakens in the theater, I saw it 4 times in the theater. The first time I saw it was at the TLC Chinese, which is the most amazing theater I think in the world.
If you need to see a Star Wars movie somewhere as a destination, that is where you need to go.
It is the biggest screen. Everything looks insane. It's an IMAX. It's in 3D, and it's just gorgeous.
As I recall, they have something like 96 surround speakers in there. It's mind-numbingly beautiful.
It is amazing. I saw it first time I saw it. I was absolutely in love with it. Second time I saw it, I was angry about a bunch of things. Third time I saw it, I was really upset and did not. I was mad at the Finn character a lot. Like I was like, this guy's such a lying sack of shit the whole time. He just lies his whole way through the fucking movie. Yeah. I was so mad at him the whole way through. And then I saw it a 4th time with my mom and loved every single minute of it. And then I watched it recently on a plane. And when I watched it on the flight, I was like, it is so bizarre how emotionally connected that movie is, where there are moments where they are telling you it's a Star Wars film, but there are moments in that movie where I am like devastated emotionally by it. By the time it ends, I'm like, I love the original. I mean, the original 3 films are so incredible, but I never watched A New Hope or Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back and felt like I was gonna tear up, you know, or get like my heart was getting torn out while I was watching it. And watching,
well, the first time I saw Empire, when I was in the 1st grade, going to the movie theater, and you find out that Darth Vader is Luke's father. Yeah, that was that moment for me where I was just like, my whole world was shattered. Wow, at that point. Everything that I knew about the world completely changed because I was 6 years old.
Can I ask? Did you? Because I'm was not born at that point. I've grown up in a world where Darth Vader was always Luke's dad. It was just part of what you knew growing up. Like, this is your mom, this is your dad, and Darth Vader is Luke's dad. Yeah. Did you think he was lying? Did you go, hey, he's a bad guy, he's lying?
I didn't want to believe it. So it wasn't until Jedi came out when I was like, okay, I guess that really is true.
But Luke believed it.
Yeah.
And so you kind of believed it because Luke believed it.
Yeah, like I mean, it's so long. I mean, I'm trying to think back to 1981, or so it's kind of hard for me to remember exactly how I felt. But I remember at the time, the first time I saw that movie, I was like, like I had that same no reaction. You know what I mean? Like that was me. Like, it's not true. It's not true. Like I was thinking the same thing with the character because I was 6 or 7 years old when I came out. So it's
listen, guys, we could talk about this all day long, but we got to wrap things up. Shawn, tell people where people can find you. Tell the internet where people can look you up.
Oh, sure. Well,
and I want to be able to. We want to go and take a look at your car.
For me, it's all about Facebook and Twitter and social media, Instagram. You can find me as Obishawn C, OBISHAWN, letter C. And you can contact me there if you want me to come to events. You've got something exciting going on. I'll put you in contact with the 501st and Rebel Legion if you want to hook up there.
Great.
And on Facebook, too, you can go to Road Squadron, ROAD Squadron, and you can find the cars there. It's called Car Fighters Coast to Coast. And if you were just at Star Wars Celebration, you saw 17 or 18 of our cars there in Orlando. We drove from Los Angeles to Orlando and back, 5,200 miles. It was crazy.
The number of stairs you must have gotten on the freeways.
And the worst thing is, like,
incalculable.
I meet everybody through their camera phone. So their camera phones are sticking out the window, and the guys who scare me are the motorcycles, who are like riding their bike and they're trying to take pictures. I'm like, I will pull over if you don't crash under my wheels.
Oh my Lord!
So I'm really easy to find. Just do a search on Google for Star Wars car, and do that anyway in Google Images, because not only will you see me, you'll see the other 30 guys who've made really cool awesome. Star Wars vehicles. And some are tributes with lots of stickers. Some are characters where they're like the Stormtrooper truck or something like that. And then some are actual spaceships like mine.
I love it.
And we all have our own level of crazy as we do it. It's really
fun. Love it. All right, what about you, JC? Tell people where they can find you.
Oh, at Reifenberg on Twitter, which... good luck spelling that. And, I mean, probably the best place to find me is to come to the bar on any given night.
And how do they get tickets again?
scumandvillainy.eventbrite.com. And,
Get your tickets for June. Is June? Are there still tickets? Any
June
tickets
is
left?
we still have tickets in June.
All
So
right, well,
jump
get your
on
tickets.
and
Get your
find some.
tickets and go get some tickets, and we'll see you here. Matt, where can people get you?
You can find me on all sites at funnymatt.com, or if you want to argue with me and claim that Han actually did shoot Greedo first, you can tell me at mattwalkersucks.com.
You son of a bitch. Also, you can get me at Stephen Glickman, STPHEN Glickman on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to the Nighttime Show podcast. We have another episode coming up live shortly. Thanks for listening. Love you guys. 40th anniversary. Star Wars.
Remember, the Force will be with you always.
Destiny.